Good morning, guys. My name is Yakush Pathak, and welcome to this video. I'm extremely glad you have shown interest in learning something new, and you're here. Basically, in this video, we are going to learn about Redux Saga, and if you don't know about it, it's basically a state management tool. So it combines with Redux and helps you to manage the state of your application asynchronously. So we'll be trying to learn this thing right now, and I think it's very easy. So don't think it is complex at all. But there is something called generator functions which you need to be aware of. But if you don't know about that, that's completely fine. We'll be discussing that along the way basically. So first of all, let's start by creating a folder. I'll not create a folder first. Let's open my Chromium browser basically. So I'll just search for wheat, and you can basically use create react app. That's completely fine, but I'll be using wheat because it is first of all faster, okay, and easier to set up. That's why, you know I don't know what I was doing here, so let's close this up. Okay, I think so I was taking a class of Python, so right. So let's go to desktop and create a new project over here, right. uh, yes. Yeah, so basically, how Redux Saga works is, okay, first of all, let's name our app. So let's call it Redux Saga Learn, right? We want to create it in React, and we want to create it in normal React, no TypeScript. So let's go to Redux Saga Learn and let's install all the dependencies, right? So let's go to the official website of Redux Saga, and let's have a talk on how does it work. So if you see by the definition itself, it's an side effect management, you can say, right? So let's say you want to fetch users and you want to show them on your screen. You can basically show them, like we can set the state and like manage the side effects which is caused by it. So that's the best point of Redux Saga. So basically, I think we are done with the installation. Yes, we are done with the installation. So the next thing we'll be doing is, I know, man, come on. Okay. So next thing we'll be doing is opening Visual Studio Code here. Okay. But before opening Visual Studio Code, let me install some packages. So let's call it npm install Axios Redux Saga. Okay. And I think that's it, right? So we'll need to install these three packages in order to understand Redux Saga, right? Yes. So we are done installing these three packages. So now what we'll do is we'll open Visual Studio Code quickly. So it should be up and running, I believe, in sometimes. Yes, it is. Basically, so now what we'll do is inside this folder we'll set up our store. So we'll just create a folder, we'll call it store. Okay. Inside the store folder, basically what we have to do is we have to create our actions, and we have to create our types, and we have to create our reducer. So let's quickly inside the store folder create our reducer. Will not be creating actions, will be directly passing the action. So you'll understand what I'm talking about basically. So let's create a reducer function. So let's start by an initial state, which will be the state by default. So the posts will be empty by default. Let's say we'll be fetching a post from our API. So post will be empty by default, and let's call it reducer function is equal to the initial state will be like the state will be equal to the initial state, and then you'll have some actions over here, right? Then let's switch on action dot type. So you can go like this, but right now as we are having less number of states, so we can use if, I believe, actions, sorry, actions dot type, if the type is equal to, let's say, if the action type is equal to posts, right? So if that is the case, what we want to do is we want to basically return the whatever the state is from default, and the posts should be whatever we pass as a payload. So these are some basics of Redux. I think you must already be knowing this, but if you don't know, that's completely fine. I'll just explain once I'm done. So I'll just return if, like, let's say, there is like some wrong action type is there, I'll simply return the uh, state, whatever state was there, right? So I'll just return that. So basically how this works is, this reducer function is called whenever you whenever you dispatch an action. What is action? Basically action is simply two things. Action has a type. So what is the type of the action? And action has a payload is the data which you want to transmit through the action. That action is basically received over here. So we check if this is post, we just return a new state, like the whatever other properties they are there in the state, and then the post will have the payload which we pass through the action. So I think that makes sense. If that is, when the application will be like coming together, this will make a whole lot of sense. Okay. So uh, export default reducer function. So we'll just export our reducer function, right? So we have our reducer function, I believe. Now the next thing which we want is basically our saga, right? So what we'll do is we'll create our saga now. So by the way, you can create actions in a different page, right? So you can create actions in a different page, but right now we can just go directly. So we can say saga.js. Let's say we want to create a saga for updating the I'll say updating the posts, right? So what we'll do is we'll just create a watcher function. Now there are some things which we require. So but before creating the saga, let's set up the saga first. So we'll go to the I think we'll have to move this whole store to the source folder. Yes, move. Yes, it's better now. So basically what we can do is we can go to main.tsx file, and we can say let store b is equal to create store. Here is the function create store, and we'll pass our reducer function on this, like which we have created. And what is the next thing we'll be doing is basically we will create our saga middleware. So we'll import it first. So we'll say import saga middleware is equal to, not from Redux Saga. Okay, and we'll have to initialize it. So let's call it saga is equal to saga middleware, right? And like this, that's all. So and now what you have to do is you have to pass the middleware to the store. How will you do it? There is basically a function called apply middleware, right? This one, and you can just pass your middleware like this. Oh, something like this. So again, if I just hide this, you'll understand it is like just creating a store and just doing this. Now we need provider. So provider will help us to pass our store to our children. So that could be like I think I don't remember I have installed React Redux or not. I don't think so. I think I'll have to install React Redux. So let's do that. So let's call it npm install React Redux. Okay. So I think React Redux is being installed. React Redux, we require React Redux in order to provide our state to all the components. And we'll be using use selector and use dispatch in order to dispatch the states. So that's a quite modern way, I'll say. So now what we can do is we can import some things from React Redux, right? So what are all those things? The things are basically we need provider, and that's all. Here we need just the provider. So we can wrap our app inside the provider, right? And right. So there's one prop which is required by the provider, which is basically store. So you can pass our store over here, right? So once that is done, this store will be available throughout the app. Now we have to create a Saga middleware in order to fetch the post. So how will you do that? So basically, first of all, we have to create our Saga. So let's create a watcher function. Basically, the work of the watcher function will be to watch that is there any call for changing the post or like fetching the post. So let's do it. First of all, how to write a generator function? So we'll say function, give a star and call it like watch. We can say what posts watch, right? So it will watch for any action dispatched for this post. And basically what we'll do is there are some things which we require. So we'll say import some things from the Redux Saga, Redux Saga, and inside the effects library. So now what all things we need? We need basically take latest and call and put. I believe till now just we need this much. So what we'll do is we'll use this yield function, and if you're very confused like how does this work, like how does this generator function work, there are like a lot of videos available. So you can just give a search, and if you want me to create a video on this, just comment down below, I'll just create it for sure. So what I'll do is I'll just take the latest, like this will prevent debouncing. Like if any person clicks the button for 30 times, it will not 30 times fetch the you post, right? So that is one thing. Take latest, right? So then what we want to do is basically we want to call another function which will fetch the post, right? So you can say function fetch posts. This is the actual function which is going to fetch the post, right? So okay, so let's call this over here. So oh my god, okay, so let's call this over here. So we'll just say fetch post, right? And now like I think it needs two things. First is the name of the action, and then the like which should be called. So if that makes sense, so we can just say posts request. Okay, we'll be calling this type. By the way, this should go into the types folder. I'm directly telling it over here, but you'll understand why. And the thing is, if you're thinking why this post request and why in the reducer function we have different, because if we'll be keeping same, it will go on loop. So if that makes sense, right? So what we'll do is like we'll now write the actual like actual thing. So you'll think like let's make this async and fetch this, right? But let me tell you, you cannot make a generator function async in Redux Saga. That is not allowed. So how will you use Axios and fetch things? Here is how you'll do it. But before doing that, let's grab our API link from here. So we'll just say one more tab, please, faster. We'll call it JSON placeholder. I don't know why I'm typing place like and we'll just use this fake API in order to create our Saga. So let's go to the post. It has 100 posts. We'll just take this posts, right? And we'll just use it over here. So we'll call it let's call it posts. So how will you make it? It's something like this. Let's make it inside try catch. Okay, and in the try statement we'll write posts is equal to yield. So there is no async await over here. Call, we can call Axios dot get, right? And we can pass all the parameters which is required by this function after this. So let's say, you know, the only parameter required is this, a URL, right? So that's the thing. And what we can do next is we can just put this like this put action. Again, there will be an yield over here, right? So this put action will do what? This put action will basically call our reducer function. So if you remember this function, right? So we'll have to pass this state, which this type, which is posts over here. So we'll have to type like type posts, sorry, posts. And the next thing what we have to do is basically we'll have to pass a payload over here. Now the payload will be post in this case. So that's how the Saga, I'll say, is made. Now we just have to implement this in our main app, right? So let's go to our app.jsx and start removing this header. So we can just remove this header and remove this all state and all, right? So basically we need two things over here. So we'll need the selector. We can say posts. So we can just use selector, and this will give us the whole global state over here. And now we have to select what all things we need. So we need posts, right? And now we need the dispatch, right? So we can say dispatch is equal to use dispatch. This is actually after React Redux version 4, these two hooks were introduced just to make our life easier. We don't have to write the connect and map dispatch, like map actions and map props, like those were really a headache. Now they are solved actually. So now we can say use effect, right? So this is like component dead mount. So whenever it initially mounts, we want to dispatch which action. Okay, so the type of action we want to dispatch is request post, right? So this will do what? This will send this request to the Saga, and Saga will fetch it and send it to the reducer. The reducer will finally set the post. So basically once you do that, like, let's just for testing purpose whether this is working or not, let's do one thing. Let's see what all posts are there. Save it. Let's try to run this, and after that we'll be making this like look good. So we'll just say npm run dev, right? So npm run dev, and okay, and sorry for the noise guys, I cannot do something, like someone is, I don't know, too much happy today. So okay, so let's try to open this. Let's call it localhost port 3000, right? So you can see we have an empty like that. So let's check our error. Do we have any error or not? So I cannot see any error, but yeah, it's not working properly. So we'll have to see like whether the type is correct or not. So we have post, right? And in the Saga we have posts. I think that's the error. So we have to just write S over here, uh, in S over here, capital S over here, save it, and say, refresh it. I don't see any error, but the data is not appearing over here. Let's first test whether this thing, when I dispatch this action. Okay, what I forget was to include this Saga in our main page. So what you have to do is you have to go to saga.run. This thing is called, I think, post watcher. What was the name? I don't remember the name. It's called post watch. So we'll have to export this function. So we can say export default post watcher, right? So save it, and now we can just basically pass this thing over here. So we can say post, right, and you can pass this over here, and this is like you have your Saga done. And I think now it should basically, okay, the thing is run Saga must be a generator function. I think it is a generator function. Post watch is a generator function, right? Post watch is a generator function. So I believe what I believe is we do not need to call this over here. Okay, no, this is not working as expected. So what we'll do is we'll just export this from here only directly. So let's see, let's remove this from here. Let's go to this and let's remove this from here. that is a generator function. I don't know why it is not right, so we'll just call it. It says run saga argument must be a generator function, right? And post watch is in the saga. So if I go to the saga, go to the post watch, it is a generator function, right? So why is it not showing that? Let's try to restart our application. I think there is some issue. Let's restart our application. Right, same error. uh, so friends, you can see finally we have the data, and actually I was doing like a very silly mistake. I'll just show you. I was basically calling the function over here. So like if I just go to the main, I was calling this, so I was doing this, which was not correct. That was the first reason it was not working. The second was that in the app page, this type was different than what we have in the saga. So in the saga, like basically over here, post request. So that was the two error due to which I was getting the error. So basically once that, one more thing, if I just remove this log, I can just write over here data, because that's the data which we are getting. Like other than this, that's all. So once we are done with that, we can just show our show our all the posts which we have. So what we can do is we can just say if the posts dot map is a post, right, and we can return iterative. So let's do something funny. Let's keep it an HR over here. So, and let's get to an H1 over here. This will be post dot title. I believe there is a title field. I'm not pretty sure, right? So if I just go to this thing, I can see there is a title and there is a body. So let's use these two things, title and there is a body. So we can say body post dot body, and I think that's it. We are done with the post, and we just have to give a key also, like that is necessary, right? So for key, what we can do is we can basically say post dot id, right? Save it and basically see whether the app is working or not. You can see all the posts we are fetching without any issues, right? So this is how the Redux Saga works. So if I can refresh this, what's the body cannot appear as a child of div. Oh, sorry, this is not body. Come on, what am I doing? This is not body. This is a paragraph tag. Right, save it. Refresh this. Yes. So what happened? Does not provide an export default. Hey, this is an error which like comes very. I don't see anything wrong. I'll have to restart my server, I think. Yeah. So you can see there is basically you can see all the posts. That's how you fetch it. And I think you got some information about how the Redux Saga works and how it's like you can make this in your application. The real scenario could be much more bigger. You might have multiple sagas. So we'll be covering on all those things later on. And thank you for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.